Good afternoon, and welcome to the end of week market review for November 9th, 2012. My name is Jason Waugh, one of the trainers and success coaches with Ideal Trading Lifestyle. I'm going to be walking us through today's presentation. Before we get started, we are going to ask that you pause this video and give the disclaimer a quick read. Once you're done, you can go ahead and press play. We've got a few things that we're going to be covering today. This will include everything from our news to economic reports, as well as some technical analysis on daily and weekly charts. While we're doing this, we're going to be looking for the S&P 500, the TSX, as well as the volatility indicator. We didn't have very many picks this week, but we will open up the lines and offer some questions. So we can see that the markets did end up relatively flat today after some serious declines that we've had over the last couple of days. Not a whole lot's been going on, aside from a little bit more growing tension between Iran and the US. That did affect the oil prices a little bit. All in all, though, the Dow is up 0.03% today, with the S&P up 0.17%. Oil is up 1.20%. Putting it to $86.11 per barrel, with gold up 0.27%, putting it to $1735.20 per ounce. While looking at the economic reports, obviously we did end up having a few things go on this week, mainly the U.S. elections, but we did end up having our initial claims report November 8th, where we were expecting jobless reports of around 370,000. We actually ended up lower, with it being at 355,000. So it's been great to see that the jobless reports are continuing to decline. While looking at the S&P 500's daily chart, we can see that the overall resistance seems to be the lowering trend line that was established near the beginning of October and is now extending now through November. This line is currently at around 1380, which is just over the current price, 1379. The MACD is declining bearish with the black line down below the blue line, suggesting that we're likely going to continue our declines and possibly break down below this next support level, which we can see at around 1370. While looking at the S&P on the weekly chart, we can see that we are still rising and we are still in momentum, so to speak. However, we are just coming up to our lower trend line, which we really need to ensure we don't break down below. If we do break down below this trend line, we could end up seeing a reversal where we could end up in a downtrend, though we really don't need to be overly concerned unless it breaks down below 1300, at which point it'll be breaking down below one of its previous cycle lows. While looking at the TSX, we can see that it has been trading relatively flat between 12,250 and 12,500 for the most part. It did, however, dip down below, and it is now looking for some support at 12,190. The MACD is declining bearish with the black line down below the blue line. While looking at the TSX on its weekly chart, we can see that we are still downtrending, but we are coming up to some support just below us at around 12,100. Whether or not we find support there is really going to depend on what goes on with the overall market conditions. As we can see, the volatility is continuing to slowly rise. It's almost surprising that it's not higher, considering the declines that we have had over the last couple of days. Nonetheless, it is over 16, which means that the volatility is a little bit too high, and as a result, we do need to be exercising caution when we get into our positions. Certainly, the volatility indicator could go much higher, with us being overly concerned if it gets above 30. So we do have quite a bit of ground that needs to be lost before that happens. With that said, we would like to remind you of a couple of events that we have coming up. If you go to our community news page, you'll be able to get a full list of everything that we have to offer. One of those events is coming up in Regina, November 19th to 24th. It's our Agribition, which is one of the largest trade shows that we attend every year. That said, if you have any further questions, you can email us to training@idealtradinglifestyle.com or reach us toll free at 1-888-942-0266. Just make sure that you're dialing extension number 5. So with that said, this has been the end of week market review for Friday, November 9th, 2012. Ciao for now.